Hey, you guys. As we go towards the end of one year and we're about to go into to a new year, I also have taken a little bit of time to think about where I am. And you know what? I am coming to the end of my fourth decade. Yeah. So, whether you're coming to the end of your third decade, whether you're in the middle of your 20s, even in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, I just want to take some time to talk about some of the things that I've learned, some of my reflections, and what I really think you should do after you turn 40. This is like a really critical time where we've learned a lot, we've absorbed a lot, we've experienced a lot. And so, what do we want the next half to look like? And by the way, a lot of these lessons can be useful for my 20 and 30 somethings out there, or even my 50 and 60 somethings out there. So hopefully you guys learn something from it. And so let's get into it. I have my notes here. And the first thing that I want to suggest is that you release feelings of unworthiness. All those times that you heard that you weren't worthy, whether you grew up in the church or whether you didn't grow up in the church, there has been this constant struggle for feeling like you're making the mark, for feeling like, okay, this is success and you've reached it. So now, yay, you're good enough. But no, at this point, we need to control, alt, delete that now. And what I want to suggest is that we replace that with finding out who you are spiritually. Like, investigate what it is that you believe now. Since we were little kids, it was like you were told what you were supposed to believe spiritually. And now is the time for you to investigate that for yourself. What do you really believe at an authentic spiritual level? Like, what holds true for you? Think about the fact that everything that you were taught was taught to the person that taught it to you. The next thing that I want to suggest is it's time to stop comparing yourself after 40. For so long, I think, especially like in your 20s, you're kind of looking around to see who got what job and what they're doing. Do they have kids now? They have a better husband than you. They have a better wife than you. Who looks better than who? And all of these things. What kind of clothes are you wearing? Car are you driving? What neighborhood are you in? The time has come for that to end once you hit 40, because you know what? It really doesn't matter. Everybody has their own life journey. Everybody has their own lessons to learn. And you can't judge that. You have to look at your own path and your own lessons and everything that you were supposed to experience for what it is for you. And don't worry about what's happening with your neighbor or your friends or anything like that. You have to kind of stop comparing yourself once you hit 40. And that kind of goes into the next thing, which is it's time to stop looking externally for validation. Find out what you love and why you love it and go with it. It doesn't matter what other people think. Their judgments don't matter. And I'm not saying that to an extreme level, unless you're like a sociopath or something like that. It does matter. We care about what people think, but not for validation. You don't need to necessarily keep going outside to get approval from other people. Find out what works for you. Love that and stick with it. The next thing that we want to do after 40 is have a spiritual routine. Now, we talked a little bit about having a new understanding or a refined understanding for ourselves spiritually, but what about a spiritual routine? What do you do to connect with your wider self or your higher self or your God source creator? We have a creator, but we're co-creators. And that spiritual routine is going to help you develop and evolve as a spirit as you go into your next decade. The next thing that's super important is to forgive yourself for perceived mistakes. Ask yourself, was it even a mistake? Or did you learn something? Because I can bet you that everything that you're judging yourself for and everything that we're like, dang, I really wish I could have done that better. If you look really closely, you learn something from that. And if you're still holding on to it and seeing it in a negative light, I would invite you to kind of go back and investigate. Did you learn something? What was the lesson in that? Realizing that nobody's perfect, including you. So it's time to forgive yourself, because that's really the only way that you're going to be able to move forward. Give yourself some grace and move forward in that grace. The next thing that I want to encourage you to do is to heal the issues that you have brought in from your ancestors, from your past lives, and realize that a lot of things that you're experiencing aren't really your fault. These are things that you brought in with you in this lifetime. So, you can even ask yourself, do you have anything that happened in your life that also maybe happened to your mom or your grandma or your aunt or your dad? That is a generational inheritance. And there was really nothing that you can do to change that, because you came here with it in order to heal it. You're the one. Realize now you're over 40. Realize that, you know what? I am seeing this as a pattern in our family. That awareness is there for a reason. It's there for you to stop the trend. Do you know how long it takes to heal something in the spirit world? It can take centuries. It can take multiple lifetimes. But the beautiful thing is you can heal it now when you're here on this earth. So do it now as soon as you can. The next thing that I would like to invite you to do is to surrender to the formless. Find an attitude of surrender. When we were in school and you would be writing the paper, you had the way that you had to write the paper. It was who, what, when, why, how, who. Remember that? Well, that's the old way. The new way is gonna be why. All you need to focus on is why you want something. You don't need to know how it's gonna be arranged. You don't know what parts are gonna be moving. Just trust that the divine has your back. The most important thing that you can focus on is why you want it. And when you want something at the core of your being, your heart of hearts, I think Martha Beck called it the, what did she call it? The core of peace. I believe she called it the core of peace. Find that aligned why. And you'll know that it's aligned because it won't cause harm to anybody involved, including you. So just find your why and then surrender and let God do the rest. And the last thing that I want to kind of reiterate, I have it here as a separate point, but it kind of goes back to what I just said. And I think it's a really important point to drive home. Don't be self-critical. That's the final thing when you're over 40 and 20s and 30s and 50s. Try not to be self-critical. Don't judge your former decisions, the choices that you made. You made them, it's the past, and now it's time to retell your story in a way that inspires you, that makes you say, you know what? I did the best that I could with the information that I had. Because holding on to a lack of forgiveness for yourself only dims your light and keeps you from shining. You gotta forgive yourself and you gotta forgive others too. Holding on is just gonna form more obstacles and blocks in your journey. So that's all I have for now. I want to say thank you for watching and for liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell. That really helps other people to get this kind of message. And if you find that it might be helpful for others, that is the best way to support me. And I want to say thank you in advance. I so appreciate you for watching. I'm wishing you the most powerful, inspired new year. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I'll see you next year. Bye.